All right, we are live, man. Good morning, Chris. It's good to have you on my show. We've done this show here. I think you're matter of fact, you're either number 60 or 61 as far as these go. I started my podcasting back in right before the pandemic, and I really only kind of did it because I wanted to have this legacy for my kids. You know, that's how I started this whole thing. And then, of course, just like anything else, it just kind of branches off to something a little bit bigger than what I expected. And now I get to have these awesome guests. And as my life continues on, I meet awesome people. So, Chris, I met you before I let you introduce yourself a little bit, so people know I met you. I was wearing, I was either wearing this one or I had another one that says "Old Man Jiu-Jitsu" rash guard that day. And you're like, I got something for you. And you have this website for older 40 and over warriors that like to still roll and stuff like that. And you got quite a following on Facebook. So I joined up your on that Facebook group that you have, and it's been pretty awesome, by the way, that group. So I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself, because we're going to get to know each other a little bit more as we have this little interview. It's not like we've been friends for a long time. So
right.
I'm looking forward to where this goes and what we talk about. So, Chris, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to talk about yourself and your family and where you're from. And with no further ado, so Chris, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm Christopher Pike, and I'm the creator of the Jiu-Jitsu Over 40 page, and I also have a apparel company called Whitewolves Apparel, ground apparel. And I've been doing jiu-jitsu for just about 17 years, but I've been doing martial arts nearly 35. So I hold ranks in other disciplines. So I've been doing this a long time. The jiu-jitsu page I created was about 7 years ago, and I did that as a purple belt. And basically, I created it with no kind of, I wasn't really looking to create this huge community. I was just kind of looking to create a page to help some people exchange some knowledge, novices, beginners, intermediates, experts. And before the pandemic, I actually only had about 700 members. And then pandemic hit, and here I am now at 22,000 members.
That's awesome, right? You know, to what you've created out there, and how many older martial artists there are out there. So I didn't know this about you. So talk to me about your other disciplines. What else did you study?
So when I was a kid, I studied Taekwondo, and I studied that for about 6 years, and attained my black belt. You know, I was in Taekwondo. The black belts come a little bit faster than other arts. I also, in my early 20s, I started to study a form of martial arts called Kang Kwon Do, which is a type of Kung Fu. I know you've been in the game a long time. You might be familiar with my Sifu. His name was Master Greg Wooldridge.
Yes, I know that name.
Yes, he actually just passed 3 months ago. He was the true martial artist. He lived, breathed, ate martial arts. And he was also a 20-year Inglewood police veteran.
Yeah, so, I've heard his name for sure.
Yeah, he's in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, right along there with, like, you know, names like Kathy Long, and which was also one of my instructors. So I go back with a lot of old school guys.
Yeah. We probably chewed the same dirt there in back in the day, because all those names sound familiar to me for sure. So you know, my background being in Tongsudo, and you know, that was where I started. You know, as the Chuck Norris system. My instructor, he's still alive, still teaches, and you know, I still get to, you know, I go and teach at his school still. It's my base art for sure.
Nice.
Krav Maga came in about 20 years ago, is when I started doing Krav Maga, and that's been a pivotal point of this. But my jiu-jitsu I'll tell you the story on how this came about. So back in the probably early 90s, I was kind of the pit bull of our school. I was the fighter. I was the one that was the enforcer of my instructor when I was a young man. And
Right.
we had this big alliance of all the Tong Soo Do schools that kind of come together under my instructor, and we had this big thing. Well, our guest instructor is supposed to be Jean Jacques from the Machado brothers.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be introduced to grappling. We've never really done it before. And so Jean Jacques couldn't come. A gentleman named David Myers shows up, one of the brown belts at that time. He was a brown belt then. Super nice guy, just a laid back dude, and thin build. And then all of a sudden we come in and he's teaching some stuff, and we're like, wow, we have never done anything of this sort, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And I was like, this is going to be pretty awesome. Well, then he proceeds. We probably had, I'm going to talk about, we had 75 people there at that seminar that day. David Meyer starts picking them off one at a time. Anybody that wants to roll, he's going to roll with at the end. And he is starting to tap everybody and their mother.
Right.
Right. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, we are in some uncharted. I said, he is a shark in a tank of minnows, man. And I'm watching this, and I'm going, and then, of course, I'm towards the end, and so everybody's like, oh, Mr. Cox is coming up, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get my ass whooped because I have no clue what this is all about. And sure enough, I mean, Dave stuffed me, man, like I was nothing. And I'll never forget that, leaving that gym that day going, okay, all these years I've been doing this, and I said, if I got any man like that worth anything of that kind of thing, I said, we are going to get smoked. And I said, so I started private lessons with David Myers many, many years ago. And, I got a blue belt with him, and then he kind of moved, and, we've always done it, but never to the extent of where I'm at today. So,
right.
And so let me ask you, and the reason, I'll tell you what happened. My story is the reason Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu the last 3 to 4 years, and we found Sergio Machado as our coach. I'm telling you that I had gotten blood clots in my lungs from an injury, and it was in a leg, and then it turned into blood clots. Then I got double blood clots in my lungs, and I was supposed to die. This has happened about 4.5 years ago.
Wow.
And after that, he had to be on blood thinners. And then I was told, hey, man, you can't fight. And then that's my forte. Stand up is my thing, man. It's what I loved. It's what I ate and breathed. And I was like, you got to be kidding. And I was super depressed for a couple years. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came along, and I could do that. And I can still feel like a warrior. And I can still feel like, I can go up against these young guys, and I can still taste it, and I can still have combat. And that's my turning point into jiu-jitsu at this point. So my rank too is on, I'm just a purple belt in right now. So, but that's my story. What turns you into jiu-jitsu? Where did you find that? You come from a background. What made you, what was your story in that?
Okay. So my story is kind of a little bit similar to yours. In the, I think it was 93 or 94. My memory is so bad now. I was learning Tae Kwon Do with my Sifu, Master Greg, and he started to delve into the grappling aspect of martial arts. And back then, there was not a lot of grappling. People had to seek it out. So he would go attend seminars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bring it back to the gym. And it was very raw back then. And it's very infantile stage, right? So I started doing it, and I loved it. I loved it. I fell in love with grappling. Unfortunately, in 1996, my mom passed of brain cancer. So with that, I went off the deep end and stopped training, and just my life just became a mess. I was a drug addict for years. So flash forward 10 years or 12 years later, okay? Or no, 10 years. God, my timelines are so off. 10 years. In 2006, I picked up jiu-jitsu again. And basically, I was living in the Valley, and I was about 8 months out of my addiction. And there was a martial arts studio walking distance from my home. I walked down there, and it was a karate studio, but they had a jiu-jitsu program there, and it was only twice a week. The instructor there, Heber Morera, which was my first jiu-jitsu instructor, was actually part of the whole garage with Chuck Norris and the Machados. And yes. So my roots come from, you know, the original guys that were doing it in the garage. And so, you know, I'm very close with a lot of the Machados, like Hegan.
Right.
He was at my blue belt ceremony, my purple belt ceremony, because the first 6 years of my jiu-jitsu was with street sports.
Gotcha.
Okay. And so that's kind of where my journey started. I needed to find a clean addiction, and that's what jiu-jitsu did for me. And I think for a lot of guys out there, I mean, you know how many different walks of life we have on the mat.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of where I started. And after about 6 years at street sports, also, as you know, back in the day, it was not okay to go train at other academies.
Yeah, it's a big taboo.
Yes, you were known as a creonte, right?
That's correct.
That was the Portuguese word for traitor, and you know, all this other stuff. So I was a blue belt at the time I was going to street sports, and the guy that owned the gym was actually a karate guy, and he was actually the head of the Guardian Angels LA chapter. His name is Steve Kirk. Familiar with the name?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
So like I said, I go back with a lot of these guys, and he didn't really like the fact that I wanted to go out and learn jiu-jitsu at other places. So I started going down to Redondo Beach to the original Machado place on Artesia, training with Cindy Omatsu and just legends.
Yes.
You know? And so I was going down there twice a week, and, you know, and then I started doing jiu-jitsu 4 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week. And then that really just, that's what really took me to the next level and opened my eyes to jiu-jitsu and seeing everything that was out there and not just being in this one academy. And the really cool thing about it is I was one of the first people to actually start going and organizing open mats and going to open mats. So
they've become prevalent now. You know what I mean? The open mats. As a matter of fact, we just had some guests here on ours on, you know, we do Jesus and Jits on Sundays, right? So, you know, and, after that, we roll, we come in at 1 o'clock, we have an open roll, and we had some walks of lives yesterday from blue belts from other gyms, and we just had a really good time with the open rolls and meeting new people and getting new bodies. You know what I mean? It's hard when you're only maintaining who you train with on a daily, right? It's just a little bit harder to improve what you have to do.
Well, in the first school that I was at, we only had maybe 10, 15 people at the most. You know what I mean? Some days there were 5, 6 people on the mat.
Yes, so. Well, you said something there that caught me, right? You caught me that you said I needed a new addiction in your comment, right? And you know, I needed that too. I needed something. The reason I have multiple black belts and things is because after a certain point, I felt I needed, I found deficiencies in what we need. I'm looking for very realistic self-defense. It was kind of my thing. Krav came around. It answered a lot of questions. You know, jiu-jitsu came around and answered a lot of questions about ground and how deficient we were overall.
Right.
And then Krav Maga came around, and then it really kind of put weapons into play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gun, knife, stick, how to deal with those, and how to have realistic training. Because I have a kill house here at my studio, my academy here. So, matter of fact, I just bought brand new mats. So all the mats that are on the main floor is going to go in that floor, so that we can actually do combat a little bit more combat in the kill house. But here, on what it looks like to go through a house, how to clear a house, what happens when you're in tight corners in a hallway and you have to fight in a hallway. What's it look like when you get taken down? You're up against a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Does what jujitsu works? What doesn't work? What Krav works? What doesn't work? And it's pretty realistic. I mean, we're popping off rubber bullets at each other, when we're force on force in that kill house. And so
That sounds pretty intense.
it is intense. It is definitely this is it. And I've got some warriors here that I got combat vets up to Yazoo here that put some people in some more realistic stuff. So what it looks
Right.
like, I don't like, I don't know about you, but when we came up in the martial arts and we did knife or gun, we do traditional one steps, I guess is what they would be called. And some of the stuff was so stupid that we did.
Yeah.
We're just like, this
Yeah.
is so dumb and so
Yeah.
unrealistic that why are we doing this? And at the same token, it can be the same way with Krav. We can do a lot of classroom stuff, but that's the beauty of jujitsu. There's only one way you get good at jujitsu. You can read about it, you can watch it. You got to get on
You
that
got to
mat
do it.
and you got to do it. And
Yep.
either you're getting your ass kicked that day, or
Yep.
you're doing the ass kicking. One of the two is happening, and so
That's it.
it's
That's
you and
it.
another person, and that's it. And then I've got a pretty killer little jiu-jitsu purple belt here, Ashley, one of our main instructors, and she was schooling the men yesterday. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And they were just
Oh, yeah.
leaving going, oh my gosh. And I said, yeah, this is the real equal gender.
Right.
Right. And so that's what I thought. I thought when you said that new addiction, and we had another one that was here yesterday too. He's been clean now for going on 2 years also. And that's what jujitsu did for him.
Yep.
Do you feel like, now I didn't come from that world, right? But I have certainly taught a lot of people from that world into having drug addictions and stuff like that, and finding jujitsu as a cleanser. You find that in your, is this a direction that you would help other addicts?
Absolutely. I actually did a YouTube video. Oh God, it's probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's a little story about 7 minutes long, and it just kind of delves into where I was in my life and how jujitsu affected me and how it changed my life. And I cannot tell you how many private messages I got after that video was released. I think it's now up to about 6,000 views. And I had people reach out to me on my private messages saying that video saved their life. Just seeing it and having something in common with somebody else. I mean, that's essentially what I wanted when I did the video. If I could just help one person that was struggling, that was great. And it got this huge following. And like I said, it had like 6,000 views, and a couple of the guys that do little articles like Jiu-Jitsu Times and stuff like that did a couple of things on me, and it was great.
Yeah, I think that it's well, I told you before, right? It's helped combat vets here,
Yes,
PTSD. It's helped drug addicts. It's helped every men, especially. I don't want to not include women on this, but as far as men go, when I counsel men and stuff like that, and combat vets and stuff that were in a warrior's mentality and can't quite find themselves,
yeah,
it has been bringing that together has been an awesome experience for me. It's it's probably the new, like, I guess what you would say, it's the new drug for us here. If I cannot get it in, like yesterday, I'm a little sore, right? I don't know what I did. I hurt my elbow doing something, right? I'm like, what the frick, man? I tell you, as I get older, I just can't heal quick, you know? And
Yeah.
so
Yep.
I rolled a little bit. I did some flow rolling, but like, even if I can't do that, it doesn't cleanse me. It doesn't cleanse my mind. I'm just kind of I'm an aggressive human being, man. And if I cannot release it, it is not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm Mark. I'm right there with you. I'm the same way. That's my sanity. That's my church.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my everything almost for the last 17 years. I don't feel right unless I train.
Yeah, I think that's good. Now, so what on the over 40? You know, there is a huge. You know, I own a website too. That's what I private messaged you one time because I own Old Man BJJ.
Yep.
Ever since I wore this shirt, and there's only a couple of these old man shirts, right? These old man rash guards. I don't care where I go if I have it on. Every old guy on the planet is like, that is awesome. You know, because it's on the back. It's like smash and pass. I might be a little bit fatter, but I'm still kick your ass or whatever.
Right.
And so it was just this this thing. I said, you know what? I'm going to see what that website's out there. And Old Man BJJ, I bought it, and I started. I have a guy with a beard and stuff like that. And there's a call for older martial artists. Yes. Where did you find that to be? What turned you on to help those guys that are a little bit older? And what did you see was the deficiency for an older guy going in, and that made you decide that, hey, we need something for these older guys? What made you guys do that?
Okay. Like I said, with the group, when I started it wasn't really something that I thought was going to blossom into what it was. So as the page has been going, I've just kind of been going with the flow of the page. And I think that it's been really nice for older people to have a community like this, to be able to talk amongst themselves. I mean, you have to remember, this, jiu-jitsu is a very young man's sport and art.
You right? Think?
So having nearly 22,000 over 40 grapplers in a group is amazing. And I'm so blessed to have this page because I have people from all over the world. I think I just accepted somebody today from, oh man, I can't remember. It was some part in Africa I've never even heard. And yeah, I just, the page is just becoming this amazing thing. I mean, I'm kind of speechless sometimes when I look at it, and I just go, wow, look at this.
Right. Yes, it turns into its own animal, doesn't it?
It really does, but it also, it's a lot of work. People don't realize running a private page of 22,000 people.
Yeah,
that's hard work.
I know. I saw you guys posting something the other day about their comments are keeping. You probably have to have some other moderators on there to help you facilitate this thing. So
yes, my fiance actually is very involved on the page.
Yeah,
and she keeps a lot of these guys in line. Because some of them get a little unruly sometimes. You know how we all rib each other in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It's just martial arts in general. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But then, we have people on the page that are very super sensitive to things like that. You understand?
I get it too, man.
And that's a hard thing for me to deal with because, like how we came up, it was very old school.
Which is amazing, right? That there's sensitivity on an old man's page. I'm like, am I at a different generation of old people? That's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm like, wait a minute, man. I mean, my coach ribbed me, last week on the mat. If I cried like a little baby, man, I'd get even more ribbed. You know what I mean? I can't survive in that kind of thing. That's why I told, my girl and I, we went and did some, this is years ago, right? We went and did some yoga stuff. And I was like, man, I was telling the lady, I said, hey, can you like be a little more aggressive with me or tell me I suck or something? Because this my dear friends thing was like, I said, I love what this is, but I just can't, that the whole Zen and you're not quite doing that right. And I'm just like, I said, I'm just not used to this, man. You know what I mean? And I found that to be myself here, being a martial arts owner for a long time. There is a generation of parenting right now that is just like, wow, you know what I mean? And that's one thing about jiu-jitsu. I don't know, Chris, that I've seen that, I've been through the open tournaments now, and you'll see me out there a lot more because I got, kids competing and stuff like that. And I've wanted to compete. I want to try it one time, but man, it's hard to find a 61-year-old purple belt in the heavyweight division that wants to get down.
It's even, bro, I've had this problem because I started jiu-jitsu at 35. I started in the 90s. Like I told you, I fell off because of drug addiction. So I came back in my mid 30s doing this, right? And here I am now, going to be 53. And yes, it definitely, it's gotten a lot harder, especially because I'm not a very big guy either. I'm 5'9" on a good day. And I'm soaking wet. I'm about 145 pounds. So
yeah,
I'm not a big dude. Yeah. So most of the guys that I roll with are bigger than me. Right.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn. My jiu-jitsu journey has been tough, to say the least. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, hands down.
Yeah.
And I think as the older I get, of course, it even becomes a little bit harder. I'm dealing with a lot of injuries that are starting to progressively get worse. Both my knees aren't what they used to be. My shoulders, all my fingers have been dislocated, ribs, you name it, concussions. I've run the gamut.
It's true. Well, I have a knee replacement. So, I had a knee replacement about 5 years ago. You know what I mean? I didn't really think, I told you my journey really came back to fruition about 3.5, 4 years ago with Sergio. But I remember right after knee surgery, I couldn't even kneel. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I don't know what to say. I can, and then I decided not to do my right because I'm like, it's going to just take me out of the game. So I'm just going to deal with it. And I didn't really think that I could do jiu-jitsu again, to be honest with you, after my knee surgery, because I didn't have a coach that would work around injuries and how to really do jiu-jitsu properly, right? And then when he came around, I was like, wow, I can do this. Looking forward to being able to do this again. And then it just, it's become, but I'm the same. I'm a big guy. So and for 61, I can, my strength is what saves me half the time because I'm just strong. And, but like yesterday, I'm like, yeah, I said, but man, I can't move my elbow for nothing. I don't even know what I did to it. And so I think that I want you to talk about on how you do these open rolls for older guys that you kind of go through different gyms around, because whoever's listening to us, I think it's important that there's other gyms in our areas. I told you before, organizing something at my gym is something easily done, whether it's in Simi or Chatsworth.
Yes.
And let's talk about what you've done with this, where you're trying to organize some roles that were for older guys. And do younger guys come to these, or do you limit it to older guys?
Okay, so when I first started doing the open mats for older guys, it was probably about 7 years ago. And it's right after I changed schools. And then I started going to M3 Fight and Fitness, which was my home school for 7 years. Then pandemic hit, gone. So I started the over 40 open mats at my home school. And the first one I did, it was strictly for over 40. I did not want any, because it just seems to be once you hit that 40 mark, it just changes. There's something, and you just, right when you hit that, it just, everything changes.
Yeah.
And so I only allowed older guys. And the first one that I had was great because everybody there, we had white belts, blue belts, purples, browns, and a handful of blacks. And I was just like, wow, I have something here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And started getting a lot of good feedback. And then people started doing the same thing in other states, and they would reach out to me. Hey, we're thinking about doing this over 40 open mat. What do you think? Give us some feedback, and so, I mean, here we are. It's really become a really big thing now, open mats, and even just strictly older guys. I really just try to keep the younger guys away because I want to prevent injuries too.
Right. I think that's the main thing, even myself, some of these young 30-year-olds, and some of these guys are super athletic, strong
Yes.
in their primes. And I'm like, I do not want to be injured by you by snapping around my arm or something like that. And I can't
Mhm.
train anymore. It's going to really piss me
Exactly.
off. You know what I mean? And,
Exactly.
so I thought it very intriguing on what you pioneered there as far as, the over 40 rolling and what that looks like. And, on your page, when you have these open mats, how do you facilitate out to other schools? So how is that happening now? So, for instance, right, I would say I'd be on your page and I would say, open roll mats. Do you have those on a consistent basis everywhere, or do they just kind of pop up and go, or do you like to come out and run some of these yourself? Do you come to some of these where other people can come and meet you, or how does that work?
Okay, so here's the thing. I just recently had another open mat. It was about 6 months ago, and it was in Van Nuys at Timmy Bond's school, which was
Mm-hmm.
Kenny's younger
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, I know Timmy.
Yeah, and it was good turnout. I think we had about 40, 50 people there, and I facilitated that one myself, organized it. As far as going out of state or to other places to do this, I haven't, but that's something I really want to do. I'd like to start going across the US and organizing some over 40 open mats, and whoever would be willing to open their gym for that. And I was actually just talking to my lady last night about maybe doing a retreat for over 40s, having like a jiu-jitsu camp. Those are huge now.
That's awesome. I would be all over that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're actually me and my fiance are gonna be going to Costa Rica in October, and jiu-jitsu is becoming really big there. Like it is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually have a academy in Costa Rica where they host jiu-jitsu camps. So I'm thinking really strongly about creating that event for some of us older grapplers to all meet in Costa Rica, have a couple instructors out there teaching, have a good time, just a little something different for us. And then, the people that do show up, maybe bringing their wives or their girlfriends or whatever, and,
Uh-huh.
just making it a good time.
Yeah, I think that's such an awesome thing. I never thought I'd be I've always was the young pit bull. I never thought I'd be the junkyard dog. And you know what I mean? And that's where I'm at, right? I'm like,
Right.
I've got that one good fight left in me if I need it, but uh, you know, I find I don't know if you find this or not. I do feel myself tested quite often by the young guys. You know what I
All
mean?
the time.
I'm the main guy, so I tell them all the time. Taking me out, bro. Is not. You know, I try and tell these young guys, and I like rolling with the young guys. I mean, there's nothing I like better than to choke out a 25-year-old. I could tell you that for a fact.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I eat it up. I eat it up like candy, like Willy
Right.
Wonka. And I love it. And so, but I know they gun for me, because I'm Mr. Cox. I've been doing this and I got high ranks and other stuff, but I keep telling myself, this isn't Krav Maga, bro. If you want to do jujitsu Krav, where I can start, poking your eyeballs out, then then it's going to be be a different animal. But I find myself, I don't know if you find yourself that as an older guy, I wrestle with that sometimes. Is I'm just not the top dog like I used to be. Not even, man.
Absolutely. You have to remember something. My program is at an MMA school. Okay, so I got guys that want to tear my head off, right? Even though I'm the instructor, and sometimes I gotta really let them know, hey, bro, I'm 50. I'm gonna be 53. You're a 22-year-old man. There's nothing to prove here, right?
Yeah.
But it's really hard for some of them to understand that because they only have one mentality, and that's go, go, go.
Right.
Right. And in jiu-jitsu, the higher you go up in belt, the bigger the bullseye gets on your back, regardless of what age you are.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of open mats, and it's all young dudes. I'm usually the oldest one there every time. Right. And the smallest guy there.
Yeah.
And some days, it's like that old saying, some days you're the hammer, some days you're the nail. But I'll tell you what, everybody I roll with remembers who I am.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, that is definitely true. I've definitely been tested. I find that just to be an all around thing. You know what I mean? And that's a hard thing for me. Just so you know, I've told everybody. I said, being an older martial artist and being the main guy, and as you get older, I've watched my instructor. He's 70 something years old, so he's not really. Well, he's got guys like me. That's his highest ranks that I wouldn't allow people to do anything to him. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just wouldn't happen. It's just not a thought process for me. But the jiu-jitsu world is, like I said, it's a physical world. It's not a kata world. And you're going to have to get down and dirty. So that's why I think it's so awesome that you have what you have, and you're kind of catering to these older guys. What's a typical, well, let's talk about so, because I'm going to get quite a few that listen to this and see this podcast as it is. Let's talk about what it looks like to do an open mat for the over 40 guys. So what are you doing? You got 5-minute rounds?
Yep. We usually do about
shake hands and we're just rocking and rolling. Is that it?
That's it, man. And it's just, everybody in the room is just slowed down a little bit, more methodical about their movements, and me being, an over 40 grappler, I have to be that way. I have to be more methodical in my movement.
Yeah.
So I think it just is just a slower pace. And for me, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go 100% all the time. It's just, I might be able to do 1 or 2 rolls like that, and then after that, I'm spent.
Right.
I can't hang with some of these young dudes. I gotta, slow them down if I can. But a lot of the times they're just, jiu-jitsu has changed a lot just over these last 7 years, 8 years. People are learning at such a fast pace now. It's crazy.
What do you think? What do you think has changed? Why do you think that is?
It's the information. I mean, look at all the techniques that are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, how much high level competition video that you can watch.
Right. Well, I guess that's true, right? Yeah,
Yep.
that's probably what it is.
I have a 15-year-old student. Okay, he's been doing jiu-jitsu now for about a year. This kid is already doing stuff that took me probably 5 or 6 years to learn. I mean, it just, and he told me the other day, he came into class and he's like, "Hey coach," he goes, "You ever seen this video of these two guys?" And he was talking about these two guys fighting. And that's all he does is watch high competition level jiu-jitsu. He's 15 years old. And he comes in and utilizes the stuff that he sees. He's choking out my adults. You know, and I have a couple other young kids in my class, 12 and 13, and they've also been doing it for about a year, and they are just amazing, and just they're on how fast they learn. I just took my kids to a tournament last month, and I had numerous amounts of coaches come up to me and ask me what I'm teaching my kids. And basically, what I'm teaching them is just the literal, just the basics. That's it. I teach them the basics, and with teaching them the basics, they're just taking off.
Yeah,
So,
I guess
kind of go back to what you said, with the older guys, I just think that we all, especially the older we get and the higher you go, we tend to go back to the basics.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, but I think I agree with that across the board in martial arts anyway. The saying of mastering your basics, it doesn't it's you can't even do well in jiu-jitsu if you don't master some of these basics. I can tell you that for a fact. You're just going to get tore up. And I think I agree with you to a point that, like, even my own son, my son is better than I ever was at his age. And I think my experiences is what, it took me, 10 years to get to this. And then I went and learned this, and this was a 20-year process. And then I've gotten better to this, but they get all that at a young age. They get everything, all my knowledge, all my stuff, all those years at this younger age. So they have to be better than what we were at that age. You know what I mean? And I guess that's the next evolution for jiu-jitsu also, is because when I go to, there's definitely two types of practitioners, right? You got competition practitioners, and you got everyday practitioners. And they're two different worlds. But when I go and I watch some of these kids and just their wrestling ability at such a young age, and I thought, what does it look like? So, because now we've even incorporated that into my own school right now. So what are my 3 and 4 year olds going to look like in 10 years that we start doing double legs at 3 years old? Right. What is that going to, what is that evolution going to look like when they get older?
You're already seeing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. Like I said, jiu-jitsu has evolved more than any other art has in 500 years, just in the last 10 years. What martial art has evolved like jiu-jitsu has?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Chris. I've yet to see that for sure. Yeah, for sure. And so, well, when you have your over 40 crowd, is it mainly men that you see, or do you have females coming in?
Okay, so it's funny that you asked that question. So when this group first started, it was strictly just men. I would say in the last year, and this has a lot to do with my fiance, she kind of changed the whole face of the page. How long have you been a part of this page, Mark?
Let's see. I met you about 7 months ago.
Okay.
At a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Okay, so this page, when it first came out, was very geared towards men. I mean, we had a old man like Viking as the cover photo. And so as far as women, I really didn't have any women in the group. So my fiance, which is, she's now one of the, she's a very big part of this page because she does so much. She changed it up and took on this persona of a white wolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where we're at now. And I think once we change that, that changed the energy in the page. Then we started to get women into the page. And I think the last time I checked, I think we're up to about 7% of the group is now women, where there was 0 months ago. And every day, you know, we get requests. I get requests to be part of this page. What do we get? Anywhere from 30 to 100 requests a day to be part of the page. Now, a lot of those people that request to be on the page do not get accepted. A lot of them are under 40.
Uh-huh.
Some of them don't want to agree to the rules. As you know, in the Facebook community now, we have a lot of trolls.
Right.
So we got to try to weed out these people, you know, because I want the page to be a welcoming place for people to feel comfortable, to be able to share their thoughts, right? And anything they want to talk about in jiu-jitsu to a certain extent, right? I try to keep it non-political, but sometimes it kind of just jumps to that.
Yeah.
You know, as you've seen.
Yes.
But we, you know, we changed it to this whole white wolf thing, and it's really taken off, you know, and the white wolf is very symbolic with a lot of things, especially with martial arts and jiu-jitsu. There's just so much synergy there.
Yeah,
so
that's definitely true. That's a true. So you probably you try and stick to your guns very much, that you have to be an over 40-year-old to be on the page.
Absolutely. So every once in a while, you know, I'm sure we get people, because I mean, all you need to do is answer that you're over 40, unless I really go and look on your profile to see if you're, you know, over 40. But for the most part, you know, everybody that requests to be on the page is legit. And yeah.
Have you seen any over 40 females come to the open rolls?
Yes. Yes.
I think it's important. I think that you know, because of Ashley at my school, and I'm sure this is, you know, jiu-jitsu is still kind of relatively my baby in all my martial arts, you know, expertise. I'm still kind of a baby in this world, you know, and so I'm kind of learning as I go. But I've always felt strong females inside of martial arts schools it needs to flourish, is what will connect other women, because, you know, it's a pretty macho type of thing. And, you know, the male, it's
yes.
You know, it's a testosterone alpha dog deal.
Yep.
And you get, you know, it's one thing, right? Jiu-jitsu is an equalizer from what I see. So I can have a really good gifted fighter female, but she'll still get hammered. Yeah, you know, you're not going to take a punch of a man like you can from a female.
Right.
It's impossible. But when you get on the ground and she's able to control your limbs and do stuff like that, and all of a sudden it's a great equalizer. And there's times that women now are tapping out guys just because of their skill.
Oh yeah.
And I think that, you know, that was important for me to have Ashley in my school, because she's rallied these young girls around her, like, hey, you know what? She's powerful. This is what she can do. And she's been a strong force. I've always been a strong believer that a strong female in your martial arts school can really help those females that are intimidated about coming in. You know,
absolutely.
I think it's hard enough for anybody to come into martial arts school, put in a white belt, and do the work. And, you know, I've seen that over the years. So I've been wanting to ask that question, if it's male dominated, or as you guys has come over that, because people ask me, I have some older females here that ask me, what is the over 40? And I said, I believe it's for what it says. It's for over 40. It's not over 40 men. It doesn't say that. So
No, we have some good women in the group now, and especially they participate, adding posts and stuff like that, and that's exactly what I wanted, them not just to be kind of like outside looking in, but actually interjecting themselves in the posts. And a lot of these females that come onto the threads, you can tell are very strong women. It's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I always say, I think women learn jujitsu the way that it was really designed, because they can't use the strength aspect.
Yeah, that's a wise thing that you just said right there. It makes it wonder why. Maybe that's why Ashley's so technical. She's so
Yes.
technical
They
that
have to be. When
yeah.
I was a purple belt, I was actually at an open mat, and Jiva Santana's wife was there. I don't know if you know who Jiva is.
I
He's I think a probably 6th-degree black belt by now. He's pretty well known guy, and he's known as the arm collector. So his wife is a practitioner, and at the time that I met her, she was a purple belt, and I was a purple belt as well. And we were at an open mat, and I rolled with her, and she threw a flash armbar on me faster than I could even realize what was going on. The next thing you know, I'm tapping, and my arm was hyperextended. I mean, it happened that fast. And it just seems to be, every I have 3 girls in my class. They're all about to be, 2 of them are about to be 13 and one's about to be 14. They're kicking most of the boys' butts.
Yeah, I have a few of those too.
Yeah, and they just tend to be more technical. They just understand it to a deeper level. I don't quite understand why that is, but I just, being on the mat for years, I'm amazed at how some of these women can throw men around. It's just,
Yeah,
it just goes to show you how powerful jujitsu can be.
that's true.
Yep.
That's super true. So, well, what do you see that? Let's get some of your expertise. You're the black belt in this, been this a lot longer than I have as far as that goes. I want to hear your thoughts to a younger jiu-jitsu practitioner to be able to practice it in your 40s. What's the advice you give them?
Man, it's like I tell the guys at my gym, because like I said, I don't think I have anybody in that gym that's over 35. And basically what I tell them is, it's all about longevity, especially the older we get. And some of these guys just don't quite get that. And I just try to share my experiences with them and kind of help them along their way, with their journey. Some of these guys, they want to roll hard every roll, and it's like, you don't need to do that. You need to slow yourself down and think about what you're doing sometimes.
Yeah.
And it seems to help a lot of them, just telling them to slow down. And I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of jiu-jitsu people to grasp and actually do.
Yeah, I that's really good. That's really good advice. I took you posted something, I don't know if it was you or somebody else in the group today, about white belts, BJJ white belts, what they need to do.
Yes.
I took that picture today and shared it even on my pages today, because I thought that was so profound on some of the things about, slowing down, even cleanliness and having, respect for yourself and the cleanliness of yourself, and
Yep.
You know, don't ask about stripes. Don't ask about promotions. Shut up. You know what I mean?
That's one of my biggest pet peeves. I tell people, just come in and train. The stripes and the belts will come. I mean, those belts before black belt, I mean, that is just all just basically learning the basics. Once you get to black belt, that's when your real training starts. I mean, to be totally honest with you, it's very cliche to say, but I really started to learn once I became a black belt, because then most of my ego was gone. It'd been smashed out of me. Right? So that's when I just really opened up my mind to jiu-jitsu, is when I became a black belt. You know, everything before that was just to learn, just a, you know, part of the journey.
You know, it's so, you know, that's a good point. You know, we have, you know, most of this podcast will probably be a part of our jiu-jitsu guys and listen to it, and females. But what you said there is pretty prevalent, because we say the same thing in all our other arts, right? You know, but for some reason there is a built-in culture in jiu-jitsu. Well, first of all, it's built in. You can't get a black belt, you know, until you're a certain age anyway. Right. So you've got a kid that can be training in this for 10 or 15 years before he's even on the trajectory of be doing it. Right.
Yep.
You have somebody named Cody Sons put out there, "We love you, Professor."
That's the owner of the school that I teach at. He's actually a professional. He's actually a professional fighter, MMA fighter.
That's good. He's saying hi. So I think that it's super. That's one thing I learned in even when I did, even when, you know, when Coach promoted me to purple, I was like, it was super not expected. And then I don't know, you know, it was super like, I'm like, man, why'd you do this, man? Because, you know, you got like, it's like you got crosshairs on your back then.
Yes,
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I was like, oh, man, Coach, you know, and I called him back and I said, Coach, and he's like, your rank, he looked at me and goes, your rank is none of your business. So shut up. Right? That's what he told me.
So true. So true.
And so it's such a, you know, I remember I was telling everybody, I said, as I've gotten to be an older martial artist, as a young man, I couldn't wait for the next rank and the next rank and the master's rank and all that. And it's to a point now, like I could really give a shit. Okay. What rank it is I am at this point, because there's so much more to learn out there for me, especially. And I'm just so jacked that I'm even able to do it, you know, that it's been great. So
yeah,
this is you have Tisha Parker. She says, I love what I've been listening to, Coach. I don't know, what does that mean? What's a piece on?
I think she said person. Yeah, I think she was just typing too much. She's Tisha's actually one of my students' moms. Yeah, she's these great people, you know, that are at the gym that I teach at. Especially the kids that I have. They compete every chance they get, and they're just tearing up the scene, which is absolutely amazing to me.
Yeah, I think that's where we saw each other. We saw each other at the podium. That's when we saw each other. You know, our kids were up there getting medals, and that's where we met each other. But you know, it's good for me to hear from somebody that's been around it a little bit more, because, like I said, I'm still kind of the baby in this world. You know, you put me in a karate tournament, everybody knows me. I competed for years. You know what I mean? Right. But in this world, I'm like a nobody. I kind of fly under the radar, which is kind of nice, because I can really take in a lot of things and not be so prevalent out there on what it was. But I think that your next, I told you before that our coach is an El Monte police officer. It was his partners that got killed on duty here a couple weeks ago. And so I told you, I think I want to facilitate we're going to facilitate a jiu-jitsu role for these guys. And so I'm probably going to elicit your help to see what we can do. And
absolutely,
because I've never, you know, doing it amongst you know, people around your own school, it's easier to monitor because I know everybody. But these big tournaments where they have hired referees and stuff like that, so I can't have something so huge and open because I'd never be able to coach it all. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think I'm probably gonna try and elicit your help, and maybe through your page we could even get. I was thinking about maybe through your page we can even get people to donate a fee for somebody to train to because some people can't even afford to go to these things every weekend. I mean, it's
Right.
to go to these jiu-jitsu tournaments wasn't like a karate tournament, man.
No.
It's expensive, man.
You're talking most of them are at least 100. Yeah. I actually have 3 students right now that just got sponsored by Prosper Stone MMA, and it's an organization that sponsors kids and their pay for all their tournaments, because like you say, it can get expensive.
Yes. And so I was thinking about that. We'll kind of collaborate to amongst that a little bit more, and
for sure.
and I would definitely like you to try and facilitate something because you're in Bakersfield, so we're not too far. We're a couple hour drive. It's not something too super bad, but I'd like to facilitate something out here with you and get this over. I want to experience it. I want to experience the role with only guys that are over 40 years old.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And because I even see some of these young guys that are 35. I got a 35-year-old firefighter. And he's strong and everything else, but you know what? He doesn't want to get hurt either. You know what I mean? He's got lives to save. He can't be, jacking everybody. But I'd like to be able to do that with you one day.
Yeah,
we'll
definitely do that for sure.
You know what I mean? So
I want to try to make the over 40 mats a little more active, just doing them, holding more events.
Right. Well, I think part of that, Chris, to be honest with you, sir, is I think that if you have places to do it, you'll get people to come if it's on a consistent basis.
Yes,
that's what I've learned even with our own open rolls. If we're consistently having them every time, not just here and there, it will say, like, I don't even care if it's like, hey, the second month of this, it's always at this place. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be an open roll, and and it's nicer to have some black belts come. I think that's where I'd like to elicit your help because I'm just a purple belt. I'm not somebody that's going to be able to facilitate and do all this. You'd like to have some black belts around that can talk and
well, that's the great thing too about the over 40 open mats is we usually do get a handful of black belts because I mean a lot of the guys that are over 40 that do jiu-jitsu, a lot of them are upper belts, and they're martial artists from other martial arts as well. That's what I find a lot is a lot of the older guys were guys that had practiced other disciplines.
Yeah.
And then they found jiu-jitsu and it just totally changed everything. I was a stand-up guy for 20 plus years too. Did Muay Thai, did boxing, Taekwondo, a whole thing, and then found grappling, and that was it. Yeah.
It's good. Well, I think that's how it happens anyway. So, I think that after getting to know you here a little bit, we've been on for an hour and stuff together. I think we could probably facilitate another one of these together. I'd like to talk about training specific, you know what I mean, on the next go around. More so older guys can come and try it even as a white belt. We talk a lot about people who've been around, but people that are brand new that want to come and try something at 40 or at 50, right? Or at 60, I believe
even at 70.
Yeah, I do. Well, I have a 73-year-old here too. He's a beast. He's a black belt in Krav. His name is Ron Lopez. He's one of my black belts in Krav Maga. He's a Vietnam vet. So nice. he's already got a mentality. He's a surfer, volleyball, did
Right.
Krav Maga, and
Been
now he's into the
athletic his whole
grappling.
life, I'm sure.
Yeah. He's just a beast. You know what I mean? And he's tall, and he's got like these gorilla arms, length of a football field, so he's just kind of built for it on top of it, so.
Right.
So I think that I'd like to have another one of these with you on training specific, and
that'd be great.
I think that where we talk about training as an older martial artist, I really think that can go somewhere. Because I tell everybody, I said, I like lifting weights. I'm a big guy. I've lifted weights since I was 12 years old, so I've always kind of been in that gym, and I was a power lifter for years, and but I'll tell you what, man, I can't. I tell everybody, this is the ego that's in my freaking head. I was at the gym, and the young guys were pumping, 375 on the bench, right? And they're freaking boom, and they're doing it. So I said, hey, can I get around in on that? And I sat in the bench, and I pushed that 375 up. They did it like 10 times. I did it twice, right? I'm like, and I get it up, and I rack it, and I get up, and they're like, how old are you? And I said, I'm 61. But what they don't see is the next day where my wrists are so freaking jacked up from that, right? I'm like, and I get up in the morning, and I'm like, my ego is writing checks that I just can't cash, man. And my wrists are just so, I just can't lift like that anymore. I just can't do it. It just is. And then that 2 rep, 375 rep, I couldn't even grip anybody for a week, right? Because my wrists were so jacked. And so I think that one thing jiu-jitsu has done for me, though, I'll tell you what, it's kept me pretty limber, when I have even when my back isn't feeling all that well and stuff like that, you get to roll around and you get your body in different positions. And I think that's what kind of keeps me young, because you don't see a lot of 50, 60-year-olds like are rolling around on the ground, you know what I mean? And it's just flow rolling can be so good for you. So,
like I said, I'll be 53 this year, and I go to open mats quite a bit. And like I said, most of the guys there are young. I roll with them, but that question always comes up after we're done. Hey, bro, how old are you? And I tell them that I'm going to be 53 this year. Most of them can't even believe it, because my game, especially for an older guy, is a very young game. I invert.
Yeah, you probably invert. You flip over everybody.
Oh yeah, dude. I can play rubber guard. My flexibility is off the charts. I mean, honestly, for somebody I do not roll like a 52-year-old man. When I roll, I'm rolling like a young man. But the next day, I pay for it every time. Every time. that's just me,
Yeah, I totally relate to that, man. I totally relate to that. So.
I don't like to lose. I'll be honest with you. I don't like to lose. And when I'm able to submit a younger guy, that makes me feel amazing.
It's funny. I tell all my students I hate losing more than I like winning. You know what I mean? So I said I cannot stand losing more than I like winning, and so that I get that take all the time. I guess even as older, we still have it all in us. But so we've been at this for an hour and 8 minutes, man. This has been a great hour. What happens with me now, Chris, is I will, by end of day at some point today, this will be an audio format also, and I'll be able to send you a link to the audio format. I put up your in the comments today. I put up, this is your Facebook group. If I have older guys that are looking for it, they can click on that. It'll go to your group, and they can ask permission to come in. So I put that out there for everybody to go in. And then it'll be on the audio on my website, which is just my name, markcox.com. And this will be an audio version, and you'll be able to share that with your people also, so they can hear,
awesome.
When they're driving and stuff, and have this kind of a conversation, this open conversation about, what you're doing there. I was very intrigued. I was very happy we got to meet with each other. I do have some stuff for you. I asked you for your address here a few weeks ago, and so we got our first. Do I have one here or what? Let me see. It is here. So I got this. I'm sending this to you right now. This says, see how it says Old Man Jiu-Jitsu?
I
This
love
is,
hat. I love hats, bro.
yeah. So I'm sending this off to you. This is my line, this Old Man Jiu-Jitsu line that I have, and I have some rash guards that are being made though, but I had the hats made, and I have some coasters and possibly a whiskey flask that has Old Man Jiu-Jitsu on it. And so I'm sending you some gifts from me. And I was super excited that I got to meet you. I'm looking forward to what we can do in the future.
Awesome. I can't wait. Real quick, I just want to put this up.
There it is. The
Jiu-Jitsu Over 40 Club.
That's the rash guard. Is that correct?
Yes, we just had these made. And they did quite well. Quite a few people bought them. And, you know, it's just, it wasn't something that I really was looking to do. It just kind of, somebody kind of said something, hey, maybe you should do something with the group and maybe start making a logo or some, you know, some stuff. And here we are. I made a rash guard and it's great, you know, and the whole group, you know, loves it too. And we have the whole Jiu-Jitsu Whitewolves and the acronym WISE, which stands for wisdom, integrity, strength, and embrace. And the reason we chose embrace as the last word, because you have to embrace the suck in jiu-jitsu.
This, you know, I use that so much is even in our Krav Maga testing, I said, this is going to suck today. So you might as well, you know, either ring the bell. I have a bell in my studio. If you ring the bell, you leave the studio, you don't come back.
Oh,
it's like the Navy SEAL bell.
Yes.
Right? I said, you don't want to ring the bell. You ring the bell, you ain't coming back. And so I don't want to see you embrace the suck. Is just it just goes. It goes good. The white wolf, the whole thing with the gray, the white, the white wolf, and I like it. I like it all. So
we're definitely onto something.
Yeah, it's great, and isn't it funny? That's how I got. So I'll be in Fullerton in July. I think there's a open tournament out there in Fullerton. I don't know. They're the ones that do it outside. Also, I think.
Oh, is that Jiu-Jitsu World League?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's where it's at. I'll keep you posted. But I just had my Old Man Jiu-Jitsu and my Team 3. That's our coaches, Team 3 and Old Man Jiu-Jitsu. I just had a professional 10x10 made of that. So when our students are competing, they can, they have a place to kind of go gather and stuff like that.
But, nice.
This stuff will be in the mail to you, my gift to you for coming on, getting to meet you and stuff like that. But, the Old Man Jiu-Jitsu, I told you the same thing happened. I wore a couple rash guards that these guys, there's not a real line out there for old men. You know what I mean? And every time I wear it, I was just at Costco wearing this one the other day. And I don't know, I probably had a half a dozen old guys. They said, do you still roll? And I go, I do. Mm-hmm. And I used to do it, and this injury and this injury. And I said, old guys got to stick together, man. Don't not do it because of young guys. Yep. I said, you come look for me, and I'll make sure you're safe when you're in class. You know what I mean? So that's been great. Yeah, this has been awesome.
All us old guys got to stick together.
That's correct. That's correct.
And gals.
Yeah, that's true. I never like putting out the ladies, man. I hope to have that. So I look forward to what we get to do in the future, man. It was great having an hour with you, Chris. Our next one will be more specific, more training specific for older guys. I think that'd be a great guy. You remind me a lot of my own coach. He's a smaller guy too, and he does all these cartwheel crazy shit all the time. I'm the smash and pass. You know what I mean? Yep. So
usually the big guys are.
Yeah, right. And it doesn't serve me well sometimes, bro. I tell all the bigger guys. We had a couple of them in open mat yesterday. I said, what are you going to do? You guys are rookies. I said, but you have somebody like me that's just as strong. I said, all that powering and stuff like that, it doesn't go anywhere. I said, I've learned this lesson the hard way by just getting these little guys just tossing me like I'm nothing, because we have a lot, we have weight behind us. They get us off balance and we're like a redwood tree, man. We're going to fall whichever way they go. And I said, so it's been a huge learning experience. Michelle says Chris is a spider monkey.
Yeah.
So
I am the spider monkey.
I'm more like the grizzly bear. So
it's gonna be that when we meet, it will be the spider monkey against the grizzly bear.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Also, just real quick, I would love to be a part of that whole kill house.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be great.
Oh, absolutely.
I would dig that.
Absolutely. When you come down, it's a small little two room, but I'll tell you what, man, we get down in there, boy. I can tell you that.
That sounds like fun.
We get down up in that room, so it'd be awesome. So, all right, Chris, I'll let you go. I'll let you have your 4th of July, man. Thank you for joining me on the 4th, guys. I couldn't have been 2 old guys talking about the new American pastime. It's not just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu anymore. It's America's brought it its own too. So it's been great. All right. It was really good, man. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All
right. Bye-bye.